Mozambique's top court on Monday confirmed the ruling party Frelimo's victory in the October election. The Constitutional Council has the final say over the electoral process, and its ruling is likely to spark further protests in the southern African country. The candidate of the ruling Frelimo party, Daniel Chapo, was earlier declared the winner with about 70% of the vote, but the opposition cried foul, with protesters continuously hitting the streets. Opposition leader Venancio Mondlane has urged his supporters to, quote, paralyze the country if the council validates the election results. Let's now speak to Fernando Lima, a journalist in Maputo. He joins us from Mozambique via Zoom. Fernando, the ruling is finally out. How has this been received across the capital, and what are the Frelimo and the opposition saying?
Well, the problem is, as anticipated, and since tensions were rising on the announcement of the final results, people are already in the streets putting tires on fire and protesting on the results announced. The extent of this protest is not yet unknown, since Mr. Venancio Mondlane, the opposition leader, have not yet taken a clear position after the results announcement. Mr. Chapo, speaking a few minutes after the election results have been announced, he said it's open to dialogue, indicate that he wants to talk with all the different opposition sectors, which is a positive message. But still, the problem are the tensions on the streets, and there's no indication that those tensions will be finished with these results. So more protests and more violence in the streets are expected, unless Mr. Venancio will call their supporters to stop the protests in the streets.
Okay, so we know the Constitutional Council has the final say in this electoral process. So now that they have finally announced Mr. Chapo as the winner, what's next in this political transition process?
Well, there are two big avenues the way forward. One, Mr. Venancio call off the protests and enter dialogue with Mr. Chapo to have an inclusive government to be formed after January, or Mr. Venancio will call for more protests and we will continue to see violence in the streets, more destruction of private and public property, as have been happening for the last 2 months.
All right, Fernando, thank you very much for that update. Fernando Lima speaking to us there from Maputo. Now, we earlier spoke to Borj Namire, a researcher at the Institute for Security Studies Africa, for what to expect after the Council's decision.
I believe that after the new president takes the office, we'll tend to see the situation calming down. And I also believe that the president will be announced that he will engage in a conversation, in a dialogue, to try to transform all these political conflicts into conversation and solve it. Well, we can see implication in different areas. For example, security implication is that the country is one of most unsafe now. People are not traveling in. This is a Christmas Eve. People should be traveling around the country. Tourists will be entering the country, and all that is not happening. But we also have a huge economic implication for Mozambique, but also for the region. You know, Mozambique is a coastal country with a lot of landlocked countries, including Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, and others, countries importing and exporting their goods through Mozambican ports. So all this has been halted since the unrest started, because trucks are attacked, trains are attacked, so no one trusts anymore Mozambique as a country to do business. But we also have a social implication. You know, as I've said, we have 110 people have been killed. These people are children, some are parents, other are wives. So all this is social implication. But in long term is that Mozambique is experiencing another political violence. And this is not good for the country, which is still recovering from civil war, but also from a terrorist attack in northern part.